Yeah, very lovely to meet you. I'm Rowena, and I was lucky to grow up at Pitchford Hall, so I'm the current owner with James, my husband.
Yeah, I'm James Nason, and my kind of link to Pitchford goes back to 1991 when I first came up with Rowena. And yeah, I remember slightly kind of falling in love with the place. We turned up here probably about just before dusk, 8 o'clock on a spring day, and just I don't know if we went to bed that night. I mean, we're just going around, walking around the hall, exploring the hall, walking around the grounds, and I was just absolutely entranced by Pitchford.
So my mother, Caroline, inherited Pitchford Hall from her stepfather in 1972. So I was very lucky to grow up in this idyllic house, and that was absolutely fantastic. And then tragically in 1992, my parents were both Lloyds of London names, and they went bankrupt. So pretty much overnight they had to sell the house, and so it was a complete disaster. And they sold to a Kuwaiti princess. And so then, unfortunately, she never moved in, and it was completely empty for 25 years. And we spent 25 years trying to get the house back again, and finally got it back in 28th of September 2016. And the whole idea was to bring it back to life. And so we did a whole kind of business plan that if we turned part of it into a holiday let, then that would help, and Lloyds, the Lloyds Bank agreed to lend us on the basis of the holiday let, and that was the way to sort of start bringing it back to life, really.
I remember her parents telling her that she was going to lose. They were going to lose the house. They were going to have to sell it, and she was going to have to leave the home that she'd been in for 20 years. And I remember all the bedrooms at Pitchford are alphabetical. So I remember her coming up to room A after this kind of conversation with her parents in absolute floods of tears, and saying, my parents have just told me that we're going to have to sell the house, and probably they were talking about moving to France. So I'm not sure it's that day or a few days later, but we went out to this lovely old oak, really gnarled oak tree, just over there, about 200, 300 meters away from where we are now. And we had a little coin that we kind of buried in the oak tree, and that was to kind of cement this kind of quest almost, that at some point in our lives we would seek to get the hall back and restore it. And in a sense, I think we felt that we needed to right a wrong. This house had never been sold since it was built in 1549. And we felt the fact that it had been sold because of a number of circumstances which we didn't feel were quite right. We felt we needed to right that wrong.
So I was 19 and at university with James when we had to sell the house, and really it's thanks to him, because I was so upset about it that he decided to spring into action, and he took me to a lovely oak tree which is just down there, and one of our favourite trees, and we made a vow on the oak tree that we'd do everything we could to get the house back again. So that was our mission, and we kept going for 25 years until we finally succeeded.
Yes, so the holiday let thing was that we were very comfortable with holiday lets, because we'd restored a barn called Winnimoney Farm in 2000. I think we were in our late 20s. There was a derelict barn on the estate, which was, its roof was almost kind of entirely blown off. And we just thought, we're either going to lose this barn, or if we can kind of raise the funding, the bank funding, we can restore it and turn it into. It just made perfect sense. It's a beautiful building. It's quite isolated. It just made perfect sense to be a holiday let. It's got the most beautiful view of the Shropshire. It looks down on the Lawley and the Caradog and along the Shropshire Hills. So it felt to us like an ideal holiday let. And, so we did 2 holiday lets after Windy Money Farm, Stopmatch Granary and Treehouse Barn. And so doing what we now call the General's Quarters, the holiday let in Pitchford, just seemed a very natural extension. As I said, we're very comfortable with holiday lettings and the holiday letting market. So that always was kind of a part of the plan. And we'd also stayed in historic holiday lets over the years. We loved them and felt that it was very appropriate use. I love the fact that you can stay in castles, towers, old Napoleonic forts that have been restored to fit holiday lets, holiday guests. And hey, look, we're now in 2024, and I'd like to think we've done a huge amount on this, with the house since getting it back since 2016.
Oh, the treehouse is incredible. So it's in a Tilia platyphilios is the type of lime tree. It's got the widest girth of any lime tree of that type, and the tree is listed, and the treehouse itself is black and white. They think it's from the probably the 1650s, and the incredible thing is that Princess Victoria did a tour of the realm when she was about 13, and she came to stay here for a few days because she was good friends with the daughters here at the time, and she used to love going up to the treehouse and writes about it in her diary. And then a bit later on, my step grandmother, Lady Sybil Grant, who's the daughter of the Prime Minister Rosebery, she much preferred living up there, and so she moved to the Orangery, and every morning the butler had to bring her a boiled egg on a silver salver up to the treehouse. So that was brilliant.
Yeah, the treehouse. It's a complete gem in that it is the world's oldest treehouse. It goes back to about 1660, 1670. It's got this really incredible kind of ornate plasterwork, which was put into the treehouse in about 1760s. Queen Victoria visited it. She stayed at the hall for 6 or 7 nights in 1832, but she visits it. I always imagine her having kind of tea, a little tea party. She was only a 13-year-old girl. She was a princess, obviously, at the time. And at the hall, there were 3 girls about her age, let's say from 12 to 15. So I just imagine, Queen Victoria or Princess Victoria going up into the branches of the lime tree and having a little tea party.
Yeah, so one of the things we've done at Pitchford is we felt it was really important to open the house up again. So not only having the holiday let, but we also do guided tours and what we call them restoration tours, and they've sort of seen the journey, and we show them around the main rooms of that house, so the Great Hall, the drawing room, the library, and then we take them up to the treehouse, which they love, and the Orangery, and they have tea and everything at the Orangery at the end, which is rather fun.
There's also one more factor, that this house between 1992 and 2016 had been, what I say aggressively, kind of kept closed. If anyone got near this house, they'd get challenged. There were no guided tours, there were no events, there was no access to journalists, there was no access to academics, researchers. And we felt it was important to open up the house and to be honest, bring some life back into the house. It had been closed. No one had stayed here for 25 years. So, it frustrated us that we couldn't, get and look around the house. And my sense is, I know that it frustrated certainly the local community who wanted this as a part of a thriving local economy.
So we, so really we've put the holiday let in the oldest, most, with all the lovely features and things, and it sleeps 14 people, and we spent quite a bit of time trying to work out, we put where to put the kitchen and all the different rooms, and they love the dining rooms because I think that's obviously really important, and all the different fireplaces. But we really just restored, tried to make it as nice as possible with all the different bedrooms. We've had such a variety of guests, so we get a lot of family gatherings. I think because we're in the Midlands, in the middle of England, it's perfect for family gatherings. So you very often find it's a kind of 80th birthday party and everyone's turned up. We have people doing who have a Christmas on a different date. They come. Some people just come every year because they love getting away with their friends. We've had people on wellness retreats and doing wanting to do more kind of yoga or those type of fitness type things, or just but a lot of families. I think it's a perfect place for big family gatherings.
Last weekend we had a Pitchford, member of the Pitchford family staying in the holiday let in the hall, and for a family with ancestry going back, probably 800 or 1,000 years at this spot. How amazing for them to be able to come back and stay in a house that their ancestors, built or at least contributed to. So access was important to us.
Yeah, so to get in a good position to try and buy Pitchford back, we'd already started doing holiday lets back in 2000, and so we've got some other properties, Windy Mundy Farm, which is pretty much in the middle of the estate, incredible views, Sleeps 16, and then we did another one called Stockbatch Granary that seats 14, and then Treehouse Barn, which is a lovely one just in the field next to the treehouse, of course, that sleeps 4 people. So we did have a bit of a track record already in the holiday lets. I think working with Sykes has just been fantastic because the expertise that they have and the support and the marketing, and I just don't think so much of it is just reaching as big an audience as possible and making sure people know about Pitchford. I just don't think we could do it without a really good agency, to be honest.
I would have never ever considered not doing it with an agency. I think our first experience of certainly talking to someone who was a holiday let owner who'd gone through a slightly similar experience to us. This is probably when we were about 23, 24, and he had restored a barn in Norfolk, and he was with an agency. And his advice was, unless you want to spend huge amounts of revenue on marketing, you should work with an agency. And of course, there's a commission arrangement, but his advice was that. And I can see from marketing just Pitchford Hall at itself, or marketing the History Festival, the marketing spend is significant, and I would not want to be doing that marketing spend without the support of an agency, which is spending, I would be talking about hundreds or thousands in marketing. Agencies are spending millions, and very cleverly as well on kind of social media advertising. So the marketing perspective would I just would not consider doing this without a partnership of with an agency. The booking side of it as well, that is it's fundamental, and having the support of a fully professional booking system where we do not make mistakes, or mistakes are not made, is really important. And also the support from an agency in terms of maybe just bouncing questions at them from let's say health and safety questions, or fire regulations, or just general advice about the market. So to be honest, it never really crossed our mind, or if it did, we shut the idea down pretty quickly, of not working, kind of avoiding the agency. It's not something we really thought about. Sykes
is by far the best agency we've ever come across, and they really have helped us with our bookings. But it's not just that; it's the expertise, it's the support, it's the whole kind of network of different people you can talk to, and they're so responsive. I think the thing that's different about Sykes, they really care about the customers and really look, incredibly responsive and helpful. So you feel you're in a partnership with people who care as much as you do about everything.
Everything I understand about Sykes, I think their marketing, their advertising is really industry leading. And that is important. I think that's, even though we've got, 4 holiday lets, and I guess could create a bit more of a marketing spend, nothing compared with what Sykes could do. It's just that profile, that brand, and their marketing spend, and the way they spend it intelligently, as far as I can see, in terms of social media, is really important. So yeah, without a doubt, I'd recommend them. But the key point is that responsiveness. We're all busy people. When we send an email, we want to know that we'll get a response, or if we pick up the phone, we want to know we'll get a response, and it's got to be quick when you're running a business, and it is with Sykes.
No, I think with the holiday they lets, I think the thing to focus on is just trying to put yourself in the mind of being a guest, and we spent quite a bit of time actually going around other Sykes properties and things, getting a feel for what works. But it's all about the quality and making sure that you're on top of the maintenance, and you're really putting your best foot forward in terms of giving them that experience and trying to put yourself in their shoes. So first of all, to stay in a historic Grade 1 listed Elizabethan house is quite unusual. They're in the oldest and most special part of the house. They in Shropshire, which is incredibly beautiful in itself, and one of the loveliest counties, and it's close to Shrewsbury and Ludlow and all sorts of different villages, the Shropshire Hills. I think it's known to be a particularly beautiful area, and also but I think it's that experience of staying in a historic house that's the more unique. The
most challenging issue for us is obviously we are Grade 1 listed, so we have got to be incredibly sensitive to any work we do which moves this house from what it is to something more commercial in terms of a holiday let.
I think it's more that you need to, with any Grade 1 listed house, it's just working with the authorities and making, the only issues are there's certain things that you can't do, and then you also have to do a lot of obviously the fire regs and make sure everything's all kind of ship shape and that thing. But there's just a bit of a difference in terms of being sensitive. It's mainly trying to keep the original features and keeping working with what you've got. It's completely different to a modern house, of course. Yeah, so we've got some very friendly ghosts at Pitchford. I think the first thing I'd say is that Pitchford has a kind of aura of goodness, and it's an incredibly sacred place. So it always feels like a really lovely atmosphere. But we definitely have some known ghosts, and Edward, my son, and Serena, they've both seen some ghosts. But what my step-grandfather smoked very pungent cigars from South America, so you sometimes get a whiff of smoke from him, which is rather amusing. And there's there's a guy in a black cloak that Edward thinks looks like Darth Vader, who appears sometimes, but it's I've only ever smelt the smoke. I haven't actually seen a ghost myself.
The future of holiday letting for us is it's this constant sense of do we expand? Do we use other the other derelict barns on the estate? There are other buildings that need probably a bit of TLC and brought up to the standard of a holiday let. So for us, it's just that constant question of we'd like to go further, but how fast can we go? And that's we live in a world of reasonably high interest rates at the moment. So we have an almost constant conversation with our local bank manager about, and I've shown him around the additional buildings that we'd potentially like to push forward into holiday lets. And it's just that conversation of, you know, can we fund it, and getting the kind of revenue stats from Sykes in terms of, you know, average rental for this area. So we'd definitely like to go further. In terms of adding more holiday lets, the only question is, you know, how fast can we do that?
Yeah, so really what's happened is, so the holiday let is about a third of the house, and we live in a third, and a third is still derelict. But what we'd love to do with Sykes' help is turn the last third probably into more of a holiday let, and just enlarge the holiday let and give them even more to play with there. So then we've definitely got plenty of plans of how to move forward. I would just encourage people to come to Pitchford Hall, and for us, as I say, because it had been asleep for 25 years, it's part of the reawakening, and it really needs people to come and enjoy it, and it thrives on having different characters appreciating it. And
it's got to be sustainable, yeah. And every guided tour we talk about the sustainability of, you know, you've lost a house once in 1992, you don't really want to lose the house again. So making this a sustainable proposition from a heritage aspect is so important.
I mean, there's so many mysteries at Pitchford in terms of trying to make sense of it all. So that's another part of it. But no, we would just encourage people to come to Shropshire and enjoy staying at a house like Pitchford Hall.